Absolutely. It's a huge reason why I work with clients, not just on resilience, but building anti-fragility, right? We want to actually build and expand capacity to take on stress. If we don't take this more proactive approach, ultimately our capacity is reduced because we go into burnout. So incredibly important, I think, to your point, to be proactive, to be really intentional about building this rather than get to the point of experiencing tremendous burnout, reduced capacity, and then you're digging yourself out of a hole, right?
Absolutely. And I'm sure this is the analogy that you've also come across is a bodybuilder that's trying to build muscle capacity will do their reps and sets until they feel the burn. That's the muscle fiber tearing and breaking. If they have a particular drive of going beyond that, they don't get to come back in 3 days after a recovery window to rebuild the muscle. They get to sit it out for 2 or 3 weeks. And it's a similar idea in resilience. Often when I speak to organizations, I teach on the KPMG leadership program, and I was speaking to Deloitte a couple of weeks ago, is that when you come in as someone who's cautioning people about burnout or teaching them about resilience, there is this fear amongst the listener that they no longer will be able to push the envelope on their life. And actually what we're looking for is optimal performance, and optimal performance actually has a virtue that is missing in our society, which is sobriety. You are actually sober and about your physical capacities, your mental capacities. You try and understand what your window of tolerance is and capacity is through the feedback mechanisms of the body. And you also work to, as you say, expand that capacity so that you're continually titrating up to greater levels of performance. Whereas I think what we have culturally is, because we're often operating from unintegrated wounding and trauma and really deep-seated desperate attempts to prove our sense of worth in the world, or just simply to survive economically, depending on where we are on the rung of the ladder, is that we're in basically a boom bust cycle. We're booming into these very short windows where we have like an incredible day or even an incredible week, and then our capacity is gone for 3 weeks, and we're basically yo-yoing and pinballing around the system of our capacity rather than being sober and modest and intentional, but gradually improving in a really great direction that has compound interest over time.
Yeah, no, we talk about mastering the concept of oscillation.
Hmm.
So you need stress to promote that positive adaptation, to expand your capacity, to
Hmm.
drive super compensation, if you will, if you're talking about weightlifting. But then you need to oscillate to those periods of deep recovery to actually gain the benefits from putting yourself under stress, right? That's what really builds to peak performance. It's oscillation. We talk about that the enemy to performance isn't stress, it's linearity, that failure to oscillate to periods of recovery. So yeah, it sounds like we're in complete alignment with our messaging, which is great.
It is good. And when I'm giving my talks, I often give people a screenshot of what my working week looks like on the week I'm giving my talk. And I do time segmenting and kind of color coding what I'm doing to optimize my day. But the color that I draw their attention to is yellow, and my week is filled with yellow, and yellow is my renewal moments that compensate for my periods of exertion. And
Mm.
so we're really trying to follow like the cadence of a heartbeat or a wave, this cadence between exertion and renewal, exertion and renewal, and that both takes place on a daily basis with micro breaks, on a weekly basis with scheduling in these activities. One of the leading researchers on burnout, Joe Petrie, he is a research consortium in New Zealand. He looks at the phenomenon of people who are able to be in incredibly intense environments, hospital A&E departments, financial traders that are working 14 hours a day. And the thing that allows them to do that for a decade or longer is that they have what's called an opposite world. They have a thing that they do where they go from the cerebral, goal-orientated, instrumentalized self to something that's much more soft and embodied and intrinsic,
Mm.
that just takes them away. So I think a lot of the actual daily practice of what we're talking about is in building these commitment devices where we're obliged to take rest and allow that to take precedence over incoming requests, often from people who are above us in the hierarchy.